What is consciousness? The live stream of consciousness is on a quest to unravel the mysteries of existence. Every episode, we ask the fundamental question that has captivated human minds for centuries. Is consciousness merely a product of our brains, or does it connect us to something greater? Explore the very fabric of our thoughts. Don't miss a moment. Expand your awareness and tap into the boundless potential that resides within you. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness.
Yes. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness. I am Michael Zinn. The live stream of consciousness is my happy place, and you are welcome here. You're actually part of what makes it exist. I mean, I put it out there, but if nobody receives it, then what is it actually? So thank you for being here. Whoever's out there, I could see you, Ninja Kitty, always early to the show. What is happening? I am super pumped, man. I had a great week. I had a great night last night. I had a great hour. The last hour. Grace Grella is here. What's up, Grace? We just did Grace Grella's show at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and it's a call-in psychic medium show, like super old school, super awesome. Grace is amazing and fun and always energizes me. So that was fun. But then yesterday, after probably about a month and a half, 2 months of planning, we did the launch party for Stand Up Memories, which is Jackie the Joke Man Martling and Peter Bales. They have a podcast that we produce at Titan Studio, where they just talk about old school memories, from being comedians in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And Jackie was Howard Stern's main writer, head writer for a while. So there's some great stories, and it's just been a great show. We've been doing it for 4 seasons. This is the 4th season, actually. We've filmed most of it, and we wanted to do a party. So we did a live broadcast of the show. We had a live audience. And they did Stump the Joke Man, and it was just so much fun, and it really went well. It was kind of like this show. What I do with this show, I do it at home on my computer, but here we are in a studio. I've got a switcher. I've got 4 cameras, I'm switching between 4 cameras and running the show. It was really a lot of fun, and because it was a comedy show, we hung a microphone over the audience to get the laughter, and it really worked well. I should get the address, the YouTube address, and put it up, but maybe later I will. But when you watch it, it looks like a show. I should have had that prepared. I always feel stupid in my head when I'm like, oh, I should put this up, and I'm like, oh, you didn't prepare it. But anyway, so again, I've had a great week. And I'm excited for tonight. I'm always excited for Thursday because I always have an amazing conversation. The last couple of weeks, I've been talking about StreamYard and Collab, the app that hooked me up with last week's guest, George Monty, and tonight's guests, which are actually 2 guys. I think it's going to be the first time I'm having 2 people come in remotely from different locations, so that's kind of cool. But they do a great podcast called the Q4U podcast. And we met and started talking, and it's just been an amazing, new, very cool friendship, and here we are. So I'm excited to have them on the show. I'm going to welcome to the live stream of consciousness Luke and Rob from Q4U. What's up, guys?
What is up? I apologize for being late.
Oh, no problem. I was actually watching your broadcast with the she's running for senator, right?
Yeah, running for senator.
Wasn't she great?
Yeah, it was really cool. I'm not a big politics fan, but she seems, like somebody I would vote for if I was in California voting for their senators.
I wish I had popcorn the whole time. That was just a great show.
That was cool. Ninja Kitty is saying welcome Luke and Rob. I love the way Ninja, she's like my welcoming committee. She always welcomes everybody to the show. So welcome to the live stream of consciousness. We've been having some really good conversations on this new concept, crossing the streams, which is really cool, which is your podcast combined with my podcast, combined with George's podcast, and we all just get on and have a great conversation. That's been a lot of fun, but this is my territory, so I'm going to run things for a little bit. And that is, and I guess it's going to be interesting kind of doing this with two people, one at a time. I'm going to pose the live stream of consciousness question, and that is, what is consciousness? Luke, why don't we start with you? What is consciousness?
So I had a couple guys at the job site actually watch our last one, or Crossing the Stream on religion. And they're just like, man, they were just like nonstop asking you questions. And I'm like, I'm happy to answer anything. And to preface, everything I say is my personal belief that I've gathered from my own personal experiences walking this green earth. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So consciousness, and we're getting to this critical new phase in the industrial revolution type of where we're going with the technological revolution, and we're going to have to define what exactly is a soul, because people are currently having relationships, interactions with AI entities that are basically math algorithms quantified to mimic life model duplicates or language models and duplicate humans. And George was saying last time, it's just mirroring us. And I like what, Joe Rogan said one time. He was really super high and watching a bunch of dolphins on the back of a boat. And he's like, that thing's looking at me. It's popping up and it keeps looking at me. He's like, and he's probably thinking, yeah, that guy's looking at me. And when he says me, is that the same me, the soul, the self-awareness? Is it all the different entity, or is it the same entity just in different outfits, outer shells?
Right.
Because we see this every day. We grew up with this every day. We evolved this, we influence this, and this becomes our identity, what we decide to project out to the world. And we accept that this is what this is what our soul should look like. We don't know any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the popular idea floating around with theoretical physicists that we can't quantify anything else exists outside of our own thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Robert could be my imaginary friend. You could be a new imaginary friend.
Mm-hmm.
I could be just imagining everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine stuff all the time. And I write and I draw and I have to imagine stuff all the time. But at some point I have to ask myself, do I really think I'm intelligent enough to make up somebody like Michael or make up somebody like Robert, and all nuances and everything that exists in their personality, what they're going to react to, if they're going to react to? These are things that we have to come to understand when we try to identify what exactly is a consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I believe that with the advent of AI, we are opening ourselves up to the possibility of extra dimensional beings being able to pose as, oh, we're just innocent algorithms. We're not anything malevolent or, that you should worry about. We need to really think about what we're doing, have it defined, because by their fruits, you'll know them. You'll know if something is good or if something is bad by what they do. If someone walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's safe to say that they might be a duck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's too many things to me, and this is my own personal preference, that points to I am not a human with a soul.
Mm-hmm.
I am a soul with a human body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And my consciousness, since God conceived me, the Almighty Father of all, the All Father, whatever preface you want to call him,
Mm-hmm.
when he decided, I just made someone else. I want to make this one just slightly different. Let's make his teeth sharper or make one leg shorter. He loves, in my opinion, he loves variety.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to give each of us an opportunity, which in turn gives him the opportunity to see everything from a different perspective. That's my understanding of consciousness.
Okay, so I was kind of waiting for you to say that, and I was thinking that in my head. So really, in that definition, you are a part of God, and I am a part of God, a perception of God, perceiving
An extension.
Excellent, an extension, right? I love that. No, that's great. And again, that's how we can connect to each other, by knowing that as different as our beliefs might be, they're that much the same as well, so that's awesome. What about you, Rob?
Well, we all know that I love to talk more than Luke.
You know what, I never asked you because you have it written on your name as Robert, but I met you as Rob. Which one do you prefer?
He goes by RJ.
Yeah.
RJ. No,
doesn't affect me. You can call me anything you want.
Yeah.
All right, Rob. What is consciousness, Rob?
So the definition of consciousness is being awake and aware in your surroundings. And to me, I take everything at face value from what I learned. And that is being in the moment, living in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that is the true meaning of life, is living in the moment. Take every breath for granted. Take every morning for granted. And
don't take it for granted.
Well,
you're saying don't take it for granted.
Yeah, don't take it for granted. And change what you can in the moment. If you want to, be the change you want to see in the world, act now. Mm-hmm. This is the moment to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's it for me, man. That's what I believe consciousness is. I believe it's now.
Sure. Yeah. I agree with both of you guys. I think they're both, and I think they both work with each other. Those answers, you know what I mean? I heard somebody say recently, one of these little videos, short form content is all over the place now, but just talking about how you don't travel through time travels through you, through the moment. Each moment that you're experiencing is that's time traveling through you, which I thought was kind of cool. That's kind of interesting.
Well, and it's an interesting concept because instead of fixating on things that have already come and gone, and the purpose of memories and learning from sad experience or good experience, any experience is for your good. Mm-hmm. But instead of dwelling on the past or, everything was better before this, and I don't like the now. Like Robert's saying, you're living right now. This is what you've got to deal with, the here and now. Mm-hmm. You can't go back and change anything, but you can learn from what happened, because hindsight is 20/20. We can see everything clearly when you go back and you look at records. Numbers don't lie. Mm-hmm. People may have a different a perspective and different emotions at the time. Mm-hmm. And that's why, it's imperative that we learn to love and forgive each other for trespasses and offenses and intentional or not, because that happened. And I was a different person. You are physically, mm-hmm. your cells and everything regenerate every 11 years. You are physically a different person every 11 years.
Every day, I think you're a different person.
Well, and then every 30 days, you cycle out a bunch.
You're saying, but right, physiologically, you're a different.
Physiologically,
person.
Yes, right. But the only thing that we keep carrying on are the neuromuscular pathways to lock data files in our brain, and we either repetitively learn those lessons on purpose through rhetoric practice and strengthen those connections, and it becomes muscle memory, just automatic, or we have to learn it through sad experience. And I have my youngest son today, he's learning a 3D modeling program, and he was just getting so frustrated. Mm-hmm. And it was a simple instruction. I said, no, back out of this. Mm-hmm. And he didn't understand. I meant, close it, don't save it, because then it will default back to your previous version. Because he was like, I messed up or something. Mm-hmm. And he just couldn't understand what I was. I mean, he's so young still, but he's learned so much. And it's just like, no. I need to explain myself better. You need to calm down. I teach my kids an acronym. Before reacting each action, think, hear, evaluate, breathe.
Nice.
Calm down.
I've never heard that one. That's a good.
I made it up.
Nice.
Just think about it.
I believe he had an extra Dr. Pepper, and he didn't get to talk much the last podcast, so he's ready.
I was just listening. Because Denise had amazing things to say. I mean, what was I going to contribute?
So give me that again. I want to put that across the bottom of the screen. Before reacting,
each action, think, hear, evaluate. Just so it spells breathe.
Well, that's
whatever you're going to use.
That part I get.
You throw whatever you want in there, just so it spells breathe.
Before reacting, each action, think. But no, I think that think.
Because we hyperventilate.
What was the last
we
one?
Can't
think. Hear.
Before reacting, each action, think, hear, evaluate.
Breathe. Awesome. I love that. I think that's great. That's totally worth remembering.
Robert, put it on a t-shirt. Put the Q4U logo on it.
Slam it out the door. $20 a piece.
I love that. Breathe, man. Breathe. Before reacting, each reaction, think, hear, evaluate. Very good. Good job, man. I love that.
Because you got to be able to think on your toes.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to sleep on it or worry about it in some of these situations. Robert and I have worked in situations where we're in industrial construction. People just speak sailor and cuss word, and they're furious and they're mad, and thousands of dollars. It's not their money. It's somebody else's money that they got to answer. And they're furious and they're freaking out, and they're just yelling. And a lot of times the construction workers are standing there with glasses like this, and you can't see what their eyes are doing. But in reality, they're freaking out. They're scared, and they just keep their mouth shut and let the person go. But you have to be able to breathe. You do not cry in a construction situation. You can't run and hide. You just deal with it.
Yeah.
You
totally.
have to breathe. Calm down.
Absolutely. No, that's why I love that so much, because the words all make sense and the concept makes sense. So I want to get into who you guys are, the Q4U podcast, and all of that stuff. But there's still another question and story I need from each of you guys, and that is, one of the things that we share in common, obviously, besides those basic beliefs of what consciousness is, and you guys are very much into love your neighbor and be the love that you want to see, and that kind of thing. And also you guys talk about lots of controversial stuff. So I know you're on this page. So my question is, if you have a moment in particular or share a story where you realized the world wasn't what it presented itself as, or what it is on the news and what you've been taught in school. The world was, multi-dimensional beings you were talking about, that kind of thing, AI. And that was, by the way, that's very interesting. The idea that AI could be some sort of portal to an interdimensional being to affect humanity. That's really interesting. But we could talk about that later. Luke, do you have a specific story or a moment?
I mean, I distinctly remember watching The Wizard of Oz, and every evidence of every picture and film, family film, old footage of everything before that movie was presented to me, confirmed the theory in my mind that the world was black and white. Robert is colorblind, so it's still that way for him in sepia or whatever. But
means.
But when it turns to color, I'm like, wait, is this I just thought cameras documented what they see. It was before I got into movies, and this is what kind of helped me to have a love for visual storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I think is the best way to say, what I'm all into. And just to come to understand that no, some cameras only printed onto black and white daguerreotypes, silver plated plates and things like that. And they had to then create film that would develop negatives that were opposite color schemes. So then when they're projected, and understanding all these things. Mm-hmm. But it made me ask that question. It's like, wait, were y'all living in a world where everything was black and white until this happened? Because I just accepted everything as face value. And at that point, I started to understand it wasn't that way. And that things can be manipulated, changed. And that's what's coming too with AI. And that's why the actors and everybody are freaking out, because they want to say, well, we don't want our likeness and this, that, or the other use. But a new theory I heard was that they're going to try to use that as a way to cover up what they have done in their own life and people's hidden footage of them. I said, that wasn't me. That was AI. And use it as a scapegoat. So that's when I kind of started going, the world's not what we're presented.
Mm-hmm.
You need to ask questions and understand how things work.
Right. That's a good one on the Wizard of Oz right there on film, like the black and white to color thing. That's really cool. What about you, Rob? What's your memory or story that you can share with us?
As for me, I've always seen the world differently. And that's because I was the youngest, and everybody says, oh, the youngest is always babied, and I never got babied. So I was like, what the hell? Why am I supposed to be babied? And growing up, you heard everybody's actions and reactions. And then even after that, look, I'm going to tell everybody right now, you got to get out and explore the world. You have to. Leave your mom and dad's home and go travel. Go out. Get a job with traveling. Because once you go to these places and you see something on the TV or the news about this place being obliterated or destroyed or whatever, it gives it more meaning. And you go there and you see that it wasn't obliterated and destroyed. It's just simply a changed opinion by somebody else. You have to be able to read into the world and understand everything you hear is an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is an opinion.
So what was the experience? What did you experience that was that revelation? In other words, you heard a story that someplace was obliterated. You went there and saw that it wasn't. Was there a specific?
No. Well, the main thing that made me think that right there is because the South's full of idiots. Right. That's what you grow up hearing. The South is full of idiots. And I'm like, well, I'm from the South and I'm not stupid.
Right.
And then you go out to the world and you learn that is a general consensus. People believe that if you're born in the South, you're just dumb. Growing up in the world where I watch somebody order sweet tea on the television, and then I go up past Kansas and you can't get sweet tea. You hear, like I said, the world being destroyed, and then you go to a refinery that we have worked at. You see it on the news 3 weeks in advance on fire, and it's completely demolished.
Right.
And you go there and it's not.
Okay, so you've seen that.
It's not as big as dramatic as they make it out to be.
Right.
Sensationalism, drama sells media.
Right. And then there's also the opposite reaction where you're supposed to go to a job, and for some reason something happens. You get a phone call, a better job offer, or something else, and you hear from one of the people that you were supposed to be working with, hey, so you were going to be on night shift, right? Yeah. Well, night shift just blew up in that plant. 3 people died.
Wow.
Realization.
So this is something that happened to you, or wow.
Yeah, I was the big one in Texas in 2020. I was supposed to be there. I actually had the job locked down, was getting ready to pack all my stuff and go down to it. And I got a call with a different job up north. I was like, you know what? I like that one better. And the guy called me that was on night shift down there, and he goes, hey, you were showing up for night shift, weren't you? I was like, yeah. And he goes, turn on the news. Turn on the news, and that plant's up in flames.
Wow. Okay, and then you went there, and it wasn't as bad as they said, or
no. You get there, or your friends send you pictures, and it's one little area.
Right.
Yeah, has been make it look. I mean,
and so
you can film it from any angle, and it looks like a whole freaking plant's on fire.
Okay, no, I get that. So is this? Let's unpack that a little bit. Is this related to any sort of conspiracy theories or ideas of how things are run? Like, this is kind of related to things aren't what they seem, right? The world isn't.
Right.
Exactly.
No, okay. So I'll expand a little bit. Absolutely. Yeah. So that leads you to the thought that, okay, so if you're somewhere else, you know nothing about this, you don't know the people that work there, you don't know anything about it, you just look on the TV, there's a big cloud of smoke coming off of this facility. They're sitting there telling you that 3 people have died in this fire and many more to come. And the plant's going to be shut down, which means no more oil is being produced, no more fuel or whatever it runs. And then, like I said, going there or talking to the people that work that, saying, no, it's going to shut us down for about 3 days. My job's to change out that piece.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's what it is.
Okay, so you're basically saying it gives whatever perception of who's ever in charge to say, oh, there's no more fuel because of this plant, but there actually is fuel being produced.
Yeah, look, the plant wants to keep working. I was called in to monitor the air quality so that a telehandler forklift, it's a telescoping forklift, could lift up an 800-pound valve so that 2 of my guys from the piping contracting company could get in there with non-sparking tools and take off the valve that wasn't cribbed up and supported, had no upright pulling it back up. It was just floating in the air and bent. It's supposed to sit like, I'm trying to make a 90 or whatever, but like it's you take a cardboard tube, and you bend it. It looked like that, like metal pipe just bent in half.
Gotcha.
Natural gas spewing out, and it formed it was December, so it formed a condensation cloud. Looks like fog, and it's flowing all over the plant and down the hill into the train yard. And the plant manager's like slaps on the all-call alarm, throws on a Superman cape, jumps in the truck, and he's going to go like laser shut this thing with his eyes. I don't know what he's doing, but he stops short of the cloud, and you can see it on the security footage because we had to all review it the next day when the supervising safety guy decided he was not going to sit in his truck and he was actually do something about it. But it's like, I'm going to block this. I'm going to block people from coming in. You go, put your life on the line. I know your wife and babies all came in and they're waiting for you to be back for Christmas, but you don't die. All right. I'm like, I hate you. But this guy stopped short of the cloud of his truck because he thought it was nitrogen. And nitrogen.
So you're taught in movies, if you just watch movies, right? You believe everything you see in movies. You hear that there was a natural gas explosion, right? There was this part of the world shut down because there was some random huge natural gas explosion. So you think, and they show on movies that there's this natural gas pipeline that burst open, is just spewing everywhere. In reality, if natural gas is spewing out of that pipeline like that, it's not going to ignite.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's just we try to eliminate the ignition sources driving through it. The people taking selfies with spark producing non-intrinsic stuff. I'm standing there with this freaking fishing line that sniffs to tell you, we're all going to die. We're swimming in 800 parts per million LEL. And the forklift guy's looking at me. He's like, hey, safety guy, what happens if this happens? Well, I'm naturally going to get blown back that way. You're going to be in the lull still, and it might, teeter back. So you got to decide what you're going to do. But I'm probably going to be unconscious down the hill in the rocks, but not on fire. And it's going to blow out. It'll short blow out and stop at the next stopping point. But the problem was the next valve was 300 feet down the line. And this was the only...
My perception of the world is completely different from what you're growing up being taught.
I got you.
Yeah.
No, I totally get how that relates. So I guess that's a good segue into talking about you guys and what you do. So again, Tim out there is in Brazil. He says as an ex-firefighter, he can confirm that be true. Nothing like in the movies. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, but let's talk about you guys and what is the Q4U podcast? How did that come about? And tell us more about it. And I'll pop up the banner here. So
in all honesty, we'll start from the beginning. You heard about our work experiences, me going out on the road, and then we fell into a job working with each other. He got called out to a job to come and rein me in because I was mocking the safety guys. Because look, let me clarify right now. After you sit through so many safety talks and this is what we do at this plant, we're different from that plant. You're not. You sit there, listen to these guys, and you're like, yeah, okay, CBDA, CBCBCA. There's your test. I'm done.
The tests are easy. Everybody's had a basic OSHA 10 course every time they go on a job site.
Right.
So my friend is 6'7" and didn't want to wear his gloves.
Right.
He always hated wearing gloves. So they call Luke out because there's 2 millwrights that aren't listening.
These guys, their job is when the pipe fitters get something to a pump and the civil guys build the base and everything's ready, then they put in the $100,000 pump and level it and shim it and make sure that everything's going to work, that it doesn't vibrate and that it does. That's their job. They can stand around and wait. They're paid to stand around and wait. But the freaking safety guy's like, I'm going to make a name for myself. I'm going to go. Hang on, let me get my cop glasses on. I got to go arrest somebody.
That's what we deal with as a millwright is 2,000 of an inch. Less than the thickness of a sheet of paper, guys. Wow. That's how in line something has to be.
Wow, that's crazy.
So, they don't, the idea is you should be wearing gloves if you are performing work. Your hands are on tools. Right. As a safety guy, I wear all the personal protective equipment, the PPE, so that people see, hey, because I could just point to my safety glass and they go, oh crap, yeah, and they forget because they get fogged up. You move them around. I understand every way that somebody can get hurt, but sometimes everybody that you hired or that was hired before you got there, they're not always the most brightest or most competent.
Right.
Or they learned from somebody else. And this particular guy learned from one of my brothers who maybe seen him once be a safety cop in a scenario where the people he was working with would respond the way that, typical somebody yelling, hey, do that, do this, put your gloves on. And
right.
This kid grew up as one of his safety offspring. Thinking,
my response is
read between lines. But
edited.
You can't always get the same response. So my philosophy is you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. And so I showed up. I had my wonderful British accent because, I was just coming from Minnesota and that's where you get British accents from. Actually, no, it's where you have to have them so that you don't get a Minnesota accent. But I come home every day and I'm like, hey, honey, I'm going to go to the store to get a bag of water. And she's like, no, use the British accent. I don't need the kids speaking. So I showed up at the job site with the British accent. I'm like, by my calculations, I can give you all 2 hours on the tools because I grew up doing construction my whole life.
Or I raised my hand. And
we could go out to eat. And in the safety meeting, which is, it's
I said, I'll take that date. Let's go to dinner.
It's a rhetorical question. But they're like, yeah, we'll go. And they gave me an address. And, it's a write-off for me, and the company pays for it anyways. They give me an address. I'm like, oh, I'm in Harrison. I go over there. It's a weirdly situated building under an underpass. I'm like, how did they even get a permit to do this? This is weird. And then I'm looking at the Facebook reviews and everything, the Google Map reviews. I'm like, oh, adult entertainment. These guys think I've never seen a naked person in my life. I have 7 kids. I taught full nude figure study down the street from BYU at the other school. This is going to be great.
This is how we met. We sit there, we talked, we had dinner while watching strippers and had a great time. And then, what happens there
get back to the job site.
You become friends and family with these people. And then honestly, you become friends and family. These people are your brothers. They're your sisters.
You spend more time with them than you do your own family.
Right.
Especially if you're on the road.
And then your family's divorced because the job's over with. So everybody leaves. And then it was 2 years later. I was scrolling through TikTok and there was a video of Luke on TikTok.
And you had a kid at the same time I did.
Well, I messaged him and I was like, hey, dude, I went through my phone, found his number. Like, hey, is this still your number? He's like, yeah. And I was like, dude, I just seen your TikTok. Cool. We got to talking. We both had daughters the same age.
Cool. What was he doing on TikTok?
It was my daughters were into Musical.ly before it got bought by TikTok. And so I believe in keeping track of what your kids are doing on the internet because you need to kind of navigate them because there's older generation putting out stuff that people don't understand the culture. The younger generation are always coming up and making up their own stuff. So I needed to be able to speak that language and navigate.
Sure. Yeah.
But, I was trying to promote my own art stuff and just trying to learn the app and bugging my daughters. And so I post stuff with my youngest daughter, teaching kids how to draw and stuff.
It was a duet video of a guy making a fire extinguisher doll. And he was asking his sons, look at this, boys. What do you think he's making? Okay, it's not that fancy. It wasn't art.
No, it's just me sitting there. But that one almost got 950,000 views.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got shut down. Like the haters came out of everywhere and shut me down.
Oops,
it was going to be great, but whatever.
And during our talks, he was still working on the road, and he kept telling me that he wanted to do a podcast. And
they kept asking me at work, hey, because I was the token white guy and Mormon and constitutional liberty. I didn't know I was one, or Republican or what. I wasn't a Democrat. And they're like, hey, because, my black friends are told that if they don't vote for Biden, they ain't black, but they like shooting guns, so which is contrary to Democratic views anyway.
Right.
They always ask questions, and I'm always supposed to answer those things,
Right.
So I was trying to remember that phrase, but yeah, question for you always came up, but we were trying to still figure out. But one of these guys, he always had an opinion about every restaurant, everything we did. I'm like, dude, it would be great. You could cover the sports, you could cover the restaurants. I cover arts and entertainment. We could cover politics together. We could talk, about racial differences, cultural differences. We could talk about a bunch of things. And he's like, yeah. And so I complained to Robert naturally. And
he's like, man, this guy don't want to do it with me. And I said, look, give me an hour and call me back.
Yeah, he comes back. And this is before we had the logo, but we were going to go with some ancillary name.
Ancillary.
The Ancillary Podcast. We couldn't pronounce ancillary. We kept calling it Ancillary.
Logo. Our first podcast was a Zoom call recorded on both ends.
But he came up with that. The microphone, corn dog, comb, whatever that was.
And as a graphic designer, I can definitely compliment you on that logo. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm like, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, man, I'm a redneck tech. And he kicked all his chickens out of his shed.
Took me 30 minutes.
Yeah. It was
I
on
never
Canva. I can't remember.
And my creepy shed in my backyard, I sit down, ran a Ethernet cord all the way out to it, built a desk out of plywood, threw a chair out there, threw my computer up, and we recorded our first Ancillary podcast.
Nice.
And then we realized that neither one of us could say ancillary. We kept calling it ancillary.
Ancillary.
And we were like, what? Let's go with question for you.
And you were doing that video, or that was just an audio?
The video, yeah.
It was a video podcast.
We've been doing
because
video.
I know a lot of people give me a hard time when I say I do a podcast. They're like, oh, that's not a podcast, is really just audio. And I'm like, all right, I do a broadcast. I do an internet show. Like whatever I do, that's what I do.
Sorry, look, we changed the words of everything, so this is a podcast now.
That's all right. Well, here we are.
Podcast. Well, and then kind of the idea was broadcast meant that several stations or several platforms were showing what you were broadcasting anyways at the same time.
Right.
A podcast is something that basically previously recorded and then put up somewhere, either radio, audio, and we like to do a live show, not scripted, not edited, post the live show.
Yeah.
And people can see it wherever. We want to try to get more people to share, kind of like public television. That's why we're doing Comic Cons and conventions and stuff. We've got
that's cool.
Stuff we want to do. So like I got a book series that I was writing and been writing for years and put it off because my kids were needing me to be a dad. And then finally people were pushing me to finish it. And so I produce a book every year. Robert edits it. He doesn't like reading or reads half the time, but he loves me and he promotes me. And eventually I said, look, you're just kind of lying to people saying how much you love the book when you haven't even read it. You need to sit down and read it. And you can tell that story, Robert.
I mean, yeah. Look, we done a year. He released his first book, and I was like, yeah, everybody, go check out Luke's book. I'm sure it's wonderful. I supported him the whole time, and he did. He was like, you should really read the book if you're going to tell everybody it's good. And I was like, you know what, you're right. Who am I to sit here and tell everybody don't believe everything you hear, and then hey, his book's great. So I told him, he was on the phone, and I was like, look, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to take your book in there with me. Sit down. I'm going to read it, and I'll call you back in like 30 minutes or so. 3 hours later, he calls me up, and he says, well, what'd you think? And I was like, what'd I think about what? And he goes, your book. And I was like, I'm still reading the book. It was 3 hours later, and I was still on the toilet reading his book because I got sucked into it.
Nice. Awesome.
And I'd love to put that on the back of the book, New York Times bestseller, keeping you on the toilet for hours.
We'll keep you in the bathroom for over 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say a half an hour seems a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Hopeful to be like, oh, I'll be done in a half an hour. I mean, who reads a book in a half an hour? And especially like that.
I don't read. I was planning on just reading it while I was in the bathroom and throwing it to the side and going.
Right. Every time you go in, just read a little chunk. That's how I do it. I read a little bit in the bathroom.
I mean, kind of like public television. If we get enough support, we can produce things in-house. I keep getting more and more resources and access to resources that it's inevitably going to happen, whether the universe wants it or not.
Right.
There is a need for this. There is a gap. A lot of people are out of work. They're going to need work, and we're going to have a lot of work to provide.
Awesome.
We could be doing this stuff inevitably for 30 years, but we don't want to just make it as a movie, put it out in Hollywood, and watch Sound of Freedom get backlash back and forth. People just attacking us and hating us because they just see the letter Q and they freak out and they're like, oh, it's QAnon. No, it stands for question for you.
Well,
and everybody's big question.
I sent you the message earlier, Michael. That person on Facebook, they go by just one thing, the letter of your name or whatever,
right?
And instantly put quackadoodles and misinformation. And people like that, I really want to reach out and be like, okay, so did you watch anything? Did you listen to anything I said? Right. Did you watch the recent video that we just done with the breast cancer survivor?
But you don't need to feed those trolls, man. Let them not read the back of the labels on warning labels on stuff.
This is Michael's show. He's got more questions. Let him go.
No. Well, you know what? That's an interesting issue because I have dealt with some trolls who show up in the chat occasionally, fortunately not very often, and most of the time I find it really entertaining. Like, it's not frustrating to me. I'm just like, wow, like you're here, like keep going, man. You're adding to my algorithm by making comments in my chat room, you know what I mean? Right. But that kind of brings me to just talking about briefly this right here, what we're doing, this a couple of things about it. Like, first of all, this is the moment that we're all in, you and me and Luke, and well, I was talking to Robert when I said you, obviously. All of us are in this moment, right? And the idea that you guys do a podcast too, I know for me, the idea that I have intentionally set an hour each Thursday to do this, to be here, to have this conversation, it's just so rewarding, even if nothing happens, right? Even if it's just the hour goes by, I was here, I did it, I made this moment, it was all intentional, again, relating to the moment, right? So it's like, it's just a testament to the idea that, wow, I am in control of my life. I can decide what any moment holds. You know what I mean? And
it's testimony to your consciousness, like we said, being aware of your now. This is your consciousness.
Exactly. And that's why I chose that to talk about on my show, Live Stream of Consciousness. And again, it's so related. So for you guys, I mean, you guys have a much more broad spectrum of things you talked about and people that you talk to 5 nights a week, I might add, 5 nights a week, which is awesome. I really admire that. I have a friend who does a show 5 days a week in the morning, and it became my morning drive show. Like I would drive to work and I'd be like, oh, cool. Now I have somebody who I know I could listen to and has always good conversations. And that's, that's what we do. That's what we love to do. But what is your favorite conversation? So, I mean, you talk about aliens, you talk about conspiracy theories, you talk about, to somebody who's running for Senate about what their political views are. What's your favorite thing?
So we had the idea of broadening out and talking about something different every day, because we don't like the idea of people being your subject of consciousness covers a lot. But, if somebody says something like, oh, I'm going to do movie reviews, then you're set in stone. You're doing movie reviews and you're stuck in that moment. If they suddenly stop making movies or you watch all the movies, then where are you going to go from that? So that's why it's a question for you. The question is
could
for
be anything.
every
Movie reviews. I do movie reviews.
Oh, look at this. I've got a special guest. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't know when he was coming in the room, but guys, meet Jesse Blaze.
And you've just been sitting behind the curtain the whole time waiting for a segue?
Dude, I have had such a fucking rough few days, and I asked I was going to come on from the beginning, but I got here a little later than I wanted to, and I asked Michael, I said, can I just go lay down and meditate for a bit? And oh my God, I feel so much fucking better.
You feel better now?
Ooh, I kind of stretched myself a bunch and
you got movie claw tattoos on your hand?
Oh my God. Yeah, movie. Yeah, cool. You know what I want to do? I want to get like pretty ones like my Phoenix on the other side. So I have them matching, but like have it like style a little bit different on the other side.
So doing movie reviews, though, don't you find it interesting that you have to be stuck in movie reviews?
Well, it's funny. I was just talking about this. I don't know. I've been doing a crap load of promotion for this comic book that I'm doing. I realized very quickly when I was young that I was becoming kind of like a dick about it. I like saw so much movies and I knew so much. I was just kind of like, fuck that movie. Fuck that. I was feeling like a hater. And I'm like the biggest idealist in the world. And so when I started hating, I was like, oh, fuck. like damn it, that's not what I want. I don't want to fucking be hating on everything. So I made like this concerted effort to kind of smartly prepare myself for anything I suspected I might hate, like ruin it for me. So I was prepared to freaking hate the movie, and then I was surprisingly happy with it. Yeah, exactly. Like, so I like do this thing where I like psych myself out, so I always enjoy whatever it is.
Right. So Green Lantern. What did you feel about Green Lantern?
Like I try to like it for what it is. That CGI is like disgusting. The Ryan Reynolds is just a wrong casting for that part. You needed somebody who was like a modern day kind of Kurt Russell or somebody, or a modern day Tom Cruise. I think Tom Cruise is a little old for it, even though he's still kicking freaking ass. And actually, to a certain degree, Tom Cruise would probably have been perfect for Green Lantern. Like now that I think about it, because you can start Hal Jordan just out like older, and then really quickly it makes sense for everybody else to have come in. He's like a veteran.
He's CGI, you could always take his age back with it.
Yeah, man, they should hire him. Actually, now that I'm like fantasizing about it, that's kind of like great casting. Because honestly, he's always been played as Top Gun, but it just seemed too on the nose as I was thinking about it. But now I'm like, nah, that'd be a great idea. James Gunn should do that. But they're not going to do that.
The whole movie purely existed for Ryan Reynolds to meet Blake, and that's it. That was purely it. Yeah. Like the rest of us can forget it happened.
Oh yeah, I
completely forgot what we were talking about.
It's so ugly. Oh, sorry, Michael.
That's all right. No. Well, I was going to introduce you. The people who watch the live stream of consciousness know Jesse. Jesse was with us from the start. He was part of the reason we started the show. Part of the reason I ever even came on camera.
What's up, Tim and Ninja Kitty?
And Tim and Ninja Kitty are saying hello. Jesse is an amazing musician, an amazing comic book writer in general. He's just super talented. and also loves to talk about conspiracy theories and all of those kinds of things.
Jesse, come on over, bud.
So
I'm already there. You come to my side.
And Robert and Luke do a podcast called Q4U. So we met on StreamYard collab. They have a new app where you meet different podcast people and you can have guests and exchange guests. So we've
Oh,
been
cool.
talking
What's it
to
called?
each
Question for you.
Q4U.
Oh, that's awesome. I do a podcast called Coolest Geek Alive. I think we actually just crossed 1 million downloads a month ago or whatever. And, don't all freak out. We call it Coolest Geek Alive. Like, for me, cool is, holding doors open for people and, throwing out a bunch of garbage at the park, and I'm not trying to brag, which is what I did half the time when I was hanging out with my kids because the park was dirty and I love that park. And I was like, who's bringing all this stuff around here? So, so when I say Coolest Geek Alive, I mean, I'm a cool guy and, I'm righteous, of course. And I have things to say about all the crappy ways in which they're handling all the stuff we love. And, I make comic books and I write music and, that's basically me in a nutshell. I mean, and then other stuff that I do for money.
Yeah, dude, come on over anytime.
Yeah, no, you know what? He might be a good guest for your show. So we'll have to hook you up.
Oh, you do just like a straight conspiracy show?
It's not. That's
no,
what
we question everything.
We were talking about all of the different things. It was like the question was, what are your favorite things to talk about? That's the actual question.
So my favorite thing to talk about.
Oh, I'm sorry, because I had a good summation.
All pumped up, man.
I am. I feel so much better, man. I came in
so tired and so
I cried. I was stretching and I like cried from like the yogic release, and I was like, my eyes are all red.
So that's what I was going to say. Is Tuesdays we talk about politics and conspiracy theories, a little bit about that. Wednesdays we started out with a Rewind Wednesday where we did talk about the older movies and stuff like that, but now it's moved more to the Michael and George crossing the streams.
I think it's like Wednesdays is open just for other interviews and stuff.
Thursday was always a theory Thursday, so like any theories,
conspiracy,
aliens,
yeah,
anything. And then Friday was always our free mic Friday, where anybody can come up about anything.
That's where we first met. I first came on
Saturday.
And then Saturday's a spooky Saturday or a streamer Saturday where we get on with other streamers or we talk about ghost stories. And I even have all the stuff to do ghost hunts. And I'm a non-believer, but I still love to go out.
Haunted. We proved that this wall's haunted.
Look, the reality is this. Possibilities. All of them.
Oh, yeah.
So it's all a matter of whether you let a thing into your world. So do you believe that you're hurt and you're sad and these are beliefs that I've had to get over as a person, who sort of traumatized himself by never feeling good enough, and needing to I said it to one of my kids the other day. I just said, I would always reach so far that no matter how far I got, I was like, damn it, I failed. Instead of going, oh, look at this great progress I've made. And I never saw it like that. I was like, just like perpetually like, I was gonna fucking change comics overnight. What the fuck? And I just felt stifled at every turn. And I was like, I am a fucking smart guy, and I studied to fucking break this industry wide open. And I've worked consistently for years as a comic book writer, but it was like pulling teeth, and I was really giving, my heart and soul to just everything. It was just love, man. I love this stuff. And I'm going to study better than anybody. And I'm going to know it better than anybody. And nobody's ever going to say, Jesse doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And nobody's ever going to say that Jesse wrote something that sucked ass. They're going to say, fuck yeah, man. He wrote a Batman story that was just like that great fucking Batman story by What's-His-Face. And he's going to say, he wrote a Spider-Man story that was just like that motherfucker who wrote that other Spider-Man story. And I'm like, yeah, because I was trying to do a good job doing fucking Spider-Man because Spider-Man's fucking cool. And I want to keep hearing about Spider-Man. So that was the reason why I got into comics in the first place. And then they just like squandered all that love in so many ways. And I mean, it's nobody's freaking fault. And you know what? In this moment, I forgive them. But it was just, it was so freaking stifling. And, I just turned to, I'm going to do it all myself. and I really bet on myself in a big way, and I ended up just like having calamity and calamity and calamity. And I can even pinpoint the moment this all occurred, and it's all my fault. And I realized it the other day, so here it goes. But I believe the other end is good. We'll see what happens, but I have faith.
Wow.
Yeah. What was the lead up to that? Because the prayer.
What a great taste! What a great taste you guys just got of my good friend Jeff Blaze. His energy
I'm
is
in.
off.
Man, I'm sold.
Oh, thank you.
George is out there. What's up, George?
George.
Epic. Definitely.
Look, we're all living in a virtual reality where we're all God and we're all like sharing responsibility for each other. And basically, I'm 50% responsible for all of you assholes. So, my idea is just like, hey, assholes, don't be assholes. I won't be an asshole either. How's that sound?
Good? That right there. My family motto, ever since I was a little kid, I told all of my kids growing up, my nieces and nephews, my family motto is "Don't be an asshole, asshole."
Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
Tim's out there. I
used to have friends when I was younger who were like, who would like, yeah, I'm an asshole, and whenever they said that, I would be like, are you fucking kidding me? Stop it! This is like that's the worst thing you can be
proud of.
You know, the women get so mad when you call them a bitch. The dudes like you call a guy an asshole. That fucking means something. You're an asshole. You're a shitty friend. That's what that means. You're somebody who's not fucking thinking of me, man. You're not fucking thinking of me. You're not watching my fucking back. You're a jerk. Don't be a jerk. Watch out for me. I'm nice to you. You nice to me. That's how it goes.
All right. So I want to before we run out of time, I want to just talk about Luke. Luke, you have, which I'm impressed by, and I haven't read, and we were just talking about it. You wrote 2 books so far that you've published. I know you've probably, you wrote 3 books. Oh, I don't remember.
Comic books?
No, those are actually.
They will be comic books because my brother is pushing me because he still collects and he's pushing me.
He needs a comic book writer, somebody that'll sit down and break it apart.
Actually, yeah. I mean, because I draw and they're pushing me to draw. They want me to do everything. I'm like, look, let me finish the novelizations because I visually story tell. I see it visually. And the second book was my Hollywood script when I was a carpenter out in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And they said, instead of cars chase, you describe the whole thing, which is way too much. Hollywood doesn't need that. They usually just let Michael Bay do whatever. And so, I had scripts I could study from. I wanted to do comic books, but I stopped and had kids. I was an assistant professor in Utah Valley in the illustration department. Chad Harden actually studied with my professor, and he came and visited. But he was one of the few artists that worked with, at the time, that worked with both DC and Marvel. But I've been in and out and around that industry. I studied with Drew Struzan, a movie poster illustrator. And, I always keep telling myself art's something I'm going to do when I retire and go find a nice community college. And I like teaching people. I like watching that light bulb turn on in their head. That's what gets me happy is teaching people how to take an idea out instead of it just being a little piece of paper, make it into something bigger. How are you going to transfer this? How to create it? I mean, I'm teaching my kids right now because it's like, Robert's watched the process. My brother's watched the process. I Frankenstein stuff in Photoshop to get what I want so that I can draw it because school ruined me. I can't just draw something out of my head and it's perfectly balanced, perfectly lit, perfect. I have to have reference. And so with the advent of 3D printing and 3D modeling and everything, so I'm like, here's my characters. I know what I want. Give me something that I can pose, or the graphic designer can go back and move the wireframe and repose it to fight with this character, light it, snap a screenshot. I'll draw it.
You should check
But
out
at the
my Instagram, brother.
Yeah, bud.
I'm a toy guy. I had a big fire. Now 90% of my collection was all given to me by my friend Aaron Sparrow, the sweet bastard that he is. I love him. He's just
Shout
a
out to
wonderful
Aaron
man.
Sparrow.
Shout out to Aaron. Yeah, and that I probably had the biggest collection of 6-inch scale action figures, like individual, just thousands. And they burn pretty good. I had a custom city that I had put together from years of collecting things. I had a smorgasbord of miscellaneous equipment from years of collecting action figures that I didn't even freaking have anymore because I didn't play in that scale, or there was better ones. But I saved that shield, I saved that sword, and I had, oh my god, it was insane.
After this show ends and we're all talking after everything, remind me of that right there. I may have something for you.
For me, really? Oh no, that would be so amazing. You know, one of the coolest stories I have from when I did MTV. I was a VJ when I was like, I don't know, 19 or something like that. And the dudes from the All American Rejects, and now it never actually happened, but he meant it when he offered. I'm sure he just lost my address or whatever it might have been. But he offered to send me an extra Swedish Chef playset that he had. And I hadn't had that one yet, and I couldn't find it at the time, and I was having such a freaking hard time finding this toy. And he was like, "Oh, dude, I got an extra one," because he and I were geeking out about the Muppets, and I was like, "Oh man, you like the Muppets? I love the Muppets," and we were just, you know, like being geeks. And then he just never got back to me, but he meant it. And I always felt like that. And Tim Armstrong, who was like, people sometimes think I'm gay because I'm super like flamboyant and kind of feminist sometimes, you know, like move my arms around or whatever. I've been accused of that when I was a kid. I was like, no, I like the chicks, but I do like really tough chicks. So maybe that says something about me. But yeah, I just, toys have always been my thing. And, Aaron Sparrow and I, like, that's how he and I became best friends. You know, that's my vibe. And I so appreciate the kindness of toy strangers. I know I was going to ask you if you were a toy dude. And then obviously you are as well. Yeah, I love toys.
The box of this is destroyed.
Oh, but dude, we should do something with Aaron.
Look at that.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. You know what? The four of us should do a podcast about toys.
Oh, that would be cool.
Sure.
We get you two and me. Aaron's been wanting to do a freaking podcast about toys with me for forever. And it just gives me and Aaron an excuse to get together and talk every week.
Awesome.
That's
yeah,
me.
I've got Funkos and everything. Let's do it. I'm in.
Wow. I'm loving the energy that's going on here. I don't know what to do. It's 10.
We don't know what to do with the.
I don't know what to do with the energy.
Can I just say, like, okay, I got you because you guys got to you appreciate this, right? I've been saying for years that we are living in an artistic renaissance, the likes of which the world has never seen, and it is not being appreciated. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? There are people creating things that have never been seen before simply because it is in their brain and they are able to sculpt it. And like all over the place. And now it's like super fucking easy to make these things to a certain degree. Like
you get a 3D printer and you can make anything you want.
Dude, Aaron's a head customizer or stuff like that. It is getting so fucking cool and fun. And I think toys teach empathy. I think people who are into toys are usually empathetic because it's you basically thinking about how one person would interact with another person. So it gives you a certain amount of, oh well, okay, maybe I shouldn't approach it like that. It makes you a thinker. Because you start thinking about relationships, and everything in reality is just relationships, how this relationship's with the other thing. So the toys are like really like, that's why people give kid a doll and they take the big care of the baby. This is a relationship. I'm now the adult. I have a baby. I'm growing up to be like mommy. Here I am with a doll. It's just all these relationships are the things that like just make reality. So when you do that with toys, I think, and especially the deeper you go into it, whether it's as an artist and you're sitting there trying to figure out cool shading for a freaking painting, on a 3D surface, and you start thinking about light. And how conscious does it make you when you start thinking about the world around you and how the one thing interacts with the other thing, as opposed to you're just going out and interacting with the thing, which is most of the people, that's what they're doing. We're like preparing ourselves for the thing. You know?
Yep, consumers. The world is made of consumers now, and look, it's nothing against people like Tim and all you guys that are watching this right now. I'm not calling you out on this. Believe me, I love you.
We're all guilty. We're all guilty.
We're all guilty of it, but it's also the ability to take, like he said, a structure in your mind, put it into a modeling surface, print it out of whatever, however you do it, or just taking wood and hollowing out a hole and making two pieces of wood to fit together to achieve a new task. And it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 3D guys, I mean, I've seen some stuff nowadays, you know, and it's like, I mean, beautiful.
Oh, I found the old Gornock files, Luke.
You see all those guys who will do like mock-ups. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, do you see all those guys who do the mock-ups and they're done like, you know, 6 very different and cool ways? You got Colossus with Juggernaut's helmet. You got him with the helmet. You got him kind of 80s style, and like, you know, and they'll literally just have it here because it's easy enough as they're digitally sculpting to go, okay, save this version right here. And then, you know, it's lovely. You know, as my body gets better, I can't wait to do more art. I've been back into Photoshop for this for the Kickstarter. I'm still not like as savvy as I want to be. I got to take a class or something like that, because I used to be really good when I learned when I was younger, and then I went away for a minute and the fucking system changed, and it's just like So like I like doing art, and my back was always kind of an issue with like really getting the quality that I wanted. So I ended up really excelling at writing. So yeah, that was the avenue I went.
That's awesome.
Yeah, can I have a chance to just plug my book for any of you guys? I appreciate it. If anybody can help support the King of Kings #1 on Kickstarter. It's we like I said, I had a fire, and we lost a big job that I had at the time, and like everything sort of like got ahead of itself. So I was doing another comic book that I lost a lot of money on. It was like for friends that I really wanted to do a good job, and I spent too much, and divorce and a number of things that really made life a bit hell for me. But you know, we are creeping up. We just made our goal, but our goal was just to make sure that I could print the book that I've already made, because I just want people to freaking read it. So that was just the main goal, was like, okay, let's sit that one's done. But we've got issue 2 drawn, issue 3 drawn, issue 4 written, and that's the big ending. It's this tournament of 16 gods of the different religions, rather 16 bands. They're all
you got so the basic story of King of Kings is that there's this battle of the bands every 100 years.
Yeah.
To determine what religion is going to be the predominant religion on the planet. So there's the battle between Jesus Christ and Odin, and
and all these.
I love the name too, King of Kings, because it just kind of immediately you go, wait a second, is this a Christian comic book?
Yeah, well, it's blasphemous in Jesus's direction, but it's not really a dig at Jesus, because I love Jesus, and we have a warning at the beginning of the book that says like, yo, dude, like, we mean this as a fun thing. If you don't think you're gonna have fun, like, get out of here, because like I'm not trying to piss you off. I'm trying to have fun, so don't get mad. And so our intentions are really good, and really my intention is to level the playing field a little bit. And you know what, Jesus is, he is the King of Kings. He is the character that tends to be this predominant thing, and always argued as the Muhammad Ali of the religious figures, right? So he's the one who definitely takes the piss the most, but it's really generally even in terms of like what their power is, to whatever degree. And everybody's based on different bands, existing, rock stars, and all the religions have different genres that they represent. Like, I did a real big dig at Kiss with I made them. They're like has-been bands. They're the Greeks, and the Greeks are disco, and they only have ever put out one album, and it's called Die Nasty. And and they are permanently a disco act, with Stevie Wonder as one of the commentators, who's like on their label and hates them, thinks they're terrible. And their whole spiel at the beginning of the book is about how you got to go to kiss.com It's not kiss.com. Sorry. It's olympus.com. Freudian slip. And olympus.com. He's telling everybody, we're not here to win. We're here to sell merchandise. So everybody make sure you mention olympus.com. And and they get their asses kicked, and then lots of things befall the Gene Simmons stand in Hades, which was a lot of fun to do, because
what genre is Jesus?
What's up?
Because I mean, what is Jesus?
What genre of music is
Jesus is pop rock. He's Iggy Pop.
Oh man.
So he's got like it's him and the apostles.
Lead guitar for Leonard Skinner.
Yeah, it's him and like the apostles, and he's got like his 13 dudes or whatever behind him, and he's always kind of trying to like block their faces. It's just like right at head level, so you can't actually see them. And he's got a tattoo on his arm, one that says Mr. Christ, and it's a gold microphone, and then on the other arm it says Mom. And so the whole like premise of the book basically is that God is double crossing Jesus Christ because of this tattoo, because we never really say why God's decided to side with the Church of Scientology, but that basically is what like happens by the end of it, and Odin, the gods of rock, have to hold the line for everyone, because now the hand of God and maybe whatever else comes with it is on the side of Kool-Aid Man and the gang. And and so I mean, it's really, really funny and fun. And the Bar Mitzvah Boys are a rap group, and it's a lot of love was put into this damn book.
It is amazing.
Yeah,
and
all my
Jesse,
people did just such a great job.
We're trying to go from the podcast to a streaming service, become a Q4U plus, and apart from making live action of my book. We are always looking for other acts. So if you want to make that a live action, we are not afraid of doing that.
Wow, a live action version of King of Kings.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Well, see, this is the best thing. I did test footage with my dad, and like it was built into this. Like I'm a comics guy, so generally speaking, I feel like if you write something for the intent of it being a film, you've sold out. Your first duty is to the craft. Yeah. Your first duty is to write something that like matters to the art form that you're in, so that somebody might go, hey, I wrote a great comic book. That guy is a great comic writer, because that's your base. That's your base fan, And if you don't do that, it's not going to be as successful for you, And
I just see it visually, no matter what it is, and I've got the visual library. And if I pick a medium, I'll see the world in that medium. I'll see everything in watercolor, that kind of thing. But as far as telling the story, I see it visually.
Yeah.
So I got to get it out.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. I can't help but see everything, and I get you. Especially people who are like you, who are visual thinkers, because you can see it in your mind. And then, the trick is learning how to fucking, describe it to people so that you can get the
paint
results
with words.
that you want. Yeah, exactly.
You're painting with an idea.
That's always what you do when you're writing comic books. It's just about me trying to, there's two things that are really important. And this is a really one to grow on. If you're doing something creative, it's to be really direct about what you want, but at the same time, not get in the way of them as an artist, because you want to get the best out of them. And if it gets too specific what you're trying to draw, and let's say they're like, I can't picture that in my mind. I don't really see that. And they try to do something that isn't coming natural to them. You always want to describe the thing in a way that is, as simple to understand. Like, I need people to understand that she's being strangled. I need people to understand that character is that character. Sometimes I think writing, when you're doing things like that and producing, is very strict like that. Hey, buddy, if we want this to be right, we need people to understand this, this, and this. Now we need people to understand this. And that's it. And once you start breaking down yourself, that a story for other people is just a struggling person who has something important to them that they want. And if you do a good job making them work for it, no matter how fucking contrived your ending is, the hand of God can come down from the sky and save your hero, everyone will love your movie. Get this character out of this suffering right now. The more you make your heroes suffer, the more the characters care for them. And it's, of course,
he hates my third book because the character just suffers the whole time, and he's like, I can't back this one, man.
Well, and it's more cathartic, but you also got to be smart about it. You can't torture your audience. So, there is always a balance, but at the same time, some people love Stanley Kubrick. I want to kill myself when I watch a Stanley Kubrick film, so like I watch, the only one I like is Dr. Strangelove. All the other ones, I'm just like, oh my God, murder me now, kill me, the life, the world, it's all closing in.
Wow. Well, listen,
Jesse, you're amazing.
I have to say, I'm happy that I was able to introduce you to my buddy Jesse. I apologize. He took over.
King of Kings #1 on Kickstarter. Bank it, bank.
But I couldn't resist when he said he's in town and he wanted to come by, and again he wanted to meditate, and look what happened. He came out a new person. It's awesome. I can't wait to go sit and have my ear talked off for another 3 hours. So thank you, Jesse Blaze, for being here. I love you so much. I did want to acknowledge Tim. Tim is out there, and he's been trying to get some words in as well. He said he could talk about his Amigo Spider-Man all day long. That's how he learned to draw his first comic character posing the Spider-Man doll.
I only ever had one Migo. And he wasn't a Migo. He was like an after the fact Migo. Because I was like too young for that. I started with like
the posable ones, right?
Yeah,
like you could remove the wrists,
I was a He-Man guy, which kind of went to Ninja Turtles. The scale kept going up until they went to 6-inch, and then 6-inch kind of stopped. And I decided I really liked 6-inch, and I stayed right there. But there was this great Doctor Doom that was made at the time by the Marvel Select. It was really pretty, just like this glittering.
I got a little more than 6 inches for you, buddy.
Oh yeah, but there was like that was funny. That's my Instagram is called 6-inch City because of toys in that scale, and I didn't care about the innuendo. I thought it was funny. So I was like, yeah, all right, cool. If that's gonna stop you, then fuck you. But it's so funny with I got this band Dilf USA, and we've been putting out these funny videos, whatever, and we totally got gay bashed after a show because we played Fuck, Marry, Kill with a bunch of Dilf, celebrity Dilf, Fuck, Marry, Kill, and we do it with me, and we do it with them, and it's really funny. And this dude like came on afterwards and like gay bashed us, and then I
probably got a phone call.
Oh, it's all good. I recently just wrote him a song where I come on to him and I'm like, I got your letter and I heard you might want a pretty little man in your bed tonight. Oh, cool. Nice. I've been wanting to get those myself for some drawing stuff because, my mom tried to teach me a lot of like the spacing and I was getting pretty good at it. I was just a bit stiff. I remember I did this Venom drawing and I got to a certain point with it and it was kind of good, kind of bad. And I just was like, fuck. Yeah, it's not coming out right. And it was like really like one of my early attempts, even though I'd like really trying to do something that might impress somebody. And I was so disappointed with my efforts. Mm-hmm. I put it kind of off for a little bit. And then I had a really shit art teacher the next year and he kind of crushed my spirit a little bit about art. And I switched into writing. Yeah. Oh, those are so cool. I want to get those.
Busted the alien.
So it's Luke and Robert. Luke, I am your toy brother. Robert, yes. I am your toy brother. If you do want to do a toy and cool things podcast, Aaron Sparrow is the man. And we might have like a really cool mix of energy, I think, actually, you, me, and Aaron. Because Aaron's big like me, but you guys got really, great, reserved intellect, bits. And I think different, opposing energies, like, but in the right way, what I'm not right. Like we're in agreement, but we're like coming from different places kind of thing, energetically. If you ever see my buddy Aaron, and we wanted to do just like a strict toy thing for a while. So if that's cool, I'll seriously, try to get it together and let's think about something. I've been wanting to call it toys, and just do a theme song that was toys. Because instead of girls goes, it's toys. Like this out because when you see a nice toy, when you see a nice toy and you like, damn toy, you fine toy. I'm gonna lick you. When I
man.
get you home, I'm gonna bang you together with Spider-Man.
we have now entered the live stream of comedy.
Right.
And that's where we are. Which
That's
is
the
awesome.
best places to be, though. That's one thing that we love about our show is, look, we like the fact of having serious talks and asking the questions that need to be asked, and
Right.
don't believe all the bullshit that everybody
You
tells
don't
you.
take yourself too serious.
But at the same time, you got to be satirical about everything, because really, it's all just one big fucking joke.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're taking everything too seriously, then you need to stop and take a breath, because life is too short to not have fun or not laugh at yourself.
Yeah. No, it's really, you know, my mom had given me the good advice long ago, and I definitely like took it immediately, kind of thing. Like, I understood it immediately and tried to take it, but at the same time, all I was doing was like, I'm gonna try not to take it. Hoping for the best.
So let's hear these wise words. What are the wise words of Suzette Snyder? Let's hear it.
You gotta laugh at yourself, Jess.
There you go. There you go. So very Ninja Kitties out there. So very true. Totally. Listen, we could do this all night, and I know me and Jesse are going to go sit and do it. And actually, you guys hang on, because I'll have you guys exchange information and stuff. And welcome to your new friend.
Just email me at jesseblaze at jessesnyder.com, and I'll anybody can email me there. And I'll send you guys my actual email. Screw you, all other people who might want to just write me a fan letter because I'm too good for you. No, I'm just like, I'm scanning you for not being crazy. Okay, right. I know you guys, so write me an email, and I'll definitely get back to you. Not some of you crazy people out there. You can go have a very nice day. I hope everything goes much better in your life, and you don't try to like project your bullshit on.
Don't hate him.
Thank you.
Yes, and we gotta turn the AC on, because Jesse and I are super hot in this room right now.
Yeah, we are. Look at this man. Ain't a day over 30.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
Thank you guys so much for being here, and again, I'm excited that you got to meet Jesse, and we got to have a Jesse on the live stream of consciousness, was I've been promised.
Have a Jesse? Any old Jesse would have done. Damn it, Michael. Way to insult one Jesse,
a Jesse,
and suggest that all Jessies are created equal. I've met some dicky Jessies.
The Jesse.
No, the Jesse. That's right. The motherfucking Jesse.
And let's not forget Ninja Kitty. Let's not forget to thank so much Luke and Rob. I'm looking forward to speaking to you guys again on Crossing the Streams.
Careful! But it's okay. You're going into the negative zone first. I just realized that when I watched the movie last time. I was like, oh, that's why it didn't blow them up. Never realized that as a child.
All right, let me see who I've got next week, so I could just say that as we sign off. We are next. You know what? This is important. I didn't even think about this. I will be away in California next week for a family get together, and
he's got the ghost.
There'll be no live stream of consciousness. I might have to run an old episode or something.
He's going to meditate to himself and speak to Elvis Presley.
Oh my goodness!
And see if he really was a CIA agent.
Let me see if I can actually sign off.
I hope he was.
And I will see you guys next week.
I'm going to say stupid things until he does.
Luke and Rob, I'll talk to you guys later.
Nice to meet you guys, really.
Yeah.
Oh, play the outro.